So OpenAI just released its newest model, GPT-5. And if you're thinking this is just another minor update, well, you're in for a surprise. What we're hearing from people who've already gotten their hands on it is that this is something totally different. It's an AI built from the ground up to be less of a simple tool and more like a real collaborator. Let's dig into what that actually means.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The early testers are already talking about GPT-5 in some very human ways. Michael Truell, who's the CEO of the AI code editor Cursor, called it remarkably intelligent, easy to steer, and even has a personality. And that word right there, personality, that's a huge deal. It tells you we're shifting away from just using basic tools and stepping into a world of, well, digital colleagues.
So what is GPT-5 at its heart? Sure, it's a state-of-the-art model, but the design philosophy is the really interesting part. It's been built to absolutely nail two big things. First, to be a genuine partner for developers while they're coding, and second, to act as an autonomous agent that can tackle complex, multi-step projects all on its own.
All right, let's dive into that first piece, coding. The promise here isn't small. It's a fundamental change in how developers might work, moving from just asking an AI for a few lines of code to actually pairing with an AI to build and debug entire applications. And wow, the numbers really tell the story here. Look at this. On the AIDR Polyglot benchmark, which is a really tough test for editing code in a bunch of different languages, GPT-5 scores an incredible 88% accuracy. That leap from the previous models, that means it makes a third fewer errors. For anyone who builds software for a living, that is a massive, massive jump in reliability. And it's not just more accurate, it's also a whole lot smarter about how it gets the job done. It needs 45% fewer tool calls. You can think of that as the AI having to ask an external program for help. So it's not just solving the problem better, it's doing it way more efficiently. And that translates directly into faster development and, you guessed it, lower costs. So what does all that efficiency and accuracy look like day to day? Well, testers are saying it can sniff out and fix these really deeply hidden bugs that other models would just skim right over. It can jump into a huge, messy codebase and answer specific questions about how it all fits together. And when it comes to web development, it apparently has a real eye for good design and clean code. So much so that testers preferred its work 70% of the time.
Okay, so it's an absolute powerhouse for coding. We've established that. But honestly, that's only half the story. All these incredible coding skills are really just the building blocks for something much, much bigger, the emergence of true AI agents. This is where we stop asking for just lines of code and start giving the AI entire projects to run with. Now, before we go any further, let's quickly define this term you're going to hear a lot, agent task. The best way to think about it is like this. Instead of asking your assistant to find a phone number, you ask them to organize the annual sales conference. See the difference? And agentic AI works the same way. You give it a big, complicated goal, and it figures out the plan, the steps, and then just executes.
And just look at what a difference this makes. The T2 bench simulates a really complex and unpredictable customer service environment. Before this, the absolute best models would get stuck and top out below 49% accuracy. GPT-5, it scores a staggering 96.7%. It just doesn't get confused, it understands the goal, it adapts to the problems, and it completes the task almost perfectly.
To make this less abstract, here's a real-world example. Say you give GPT-5 a single request, build me a website. Here's what it does. First, it comes back with a plan for you to review. Then it scaffolds the entire app, installs all the software it needs, writes the actual content for the pages, and to top it all off, it summarizes everything it just did. It handles the whole project from start to finish, completely on its own. So, what's the secret sauce? Why is it so good at this? It all comes down to one thing: reasoning. Inditex, the parent company of Zara, put it perfectly. They said what truly sets this model apart is the depth of its understanding. It's not just following a checklist. It's giving nuanced, multi-layered answers that show it actually gets what it's talking about. Now, having this much power would be a little intimidating if you couldn't steer it, right?
And that's exactly why this next set of features is so critical. OpenAI has built in a whole new set of controls to make GPT-5 a safer, more predictable, and, honestly, a more fine-tuned partner to work with. So how do you actually control this thing? They've given us 4 really key levers. There's a verbosity parameter, so you can decide if you want a short answer or a detailed explanation. There's reasoning effort, which is kind of like a slider between speed and quality. Custom tools makes it way easier to integrate with other programs. And my favorite, preamble messages, which lets the AI tell you what it's about to do before it actually does it. Total transparency. And here is a perfect example of that verbosity control in action. You ask, why is the sky blue? On the left, with low verbosity, you get the quick, to-the-point scientific answer. But on the right, with high verbosity, you get a full-blown lesson. It gives you key points, it explains why the sky isn't violet, it even talks about sunsets. Same AI, just dialed in to give you exactly the level of detail you're looking for. Okay, this right here is huge. Trust is absolutely everything when you're handing off complex work to an AI. According to OpenAI's own internal tests, GPT-5 makes about 80% fewer factual errors, hallucinations, than the last model. This isn't just a small improvement. This massive boost in reliability is what makes professional, agentic AI not just a cool idea, but a practical reality. So you've seen what it can do. You've seen how you can control it. The big question is, what happens now? Let's take a look at how you can actually get your hands on this and what it means for the kinds of projects you can now take on. To make this accessible to everyone, they're actually releasing GPT-5 in 3 different sizes or flavors. You've got the full-power GPT-5 model for the really heavy lifting. Then there's a balanced mini version and a super-fast, lightweight nano version. This tiered system is really smart because it lets developers pick the right tool for the job, balancing power, speed, and cost for any project they can dream up. So what's the engine under the hood that lets it tackle such massive tasks? It's this number, a 400,000 token context window. The easiest way to think of that is as the AI's short-term memory. A huge memory like this is what allows it to read and understand an entire codebase or a massive research document all in one go without losing track of what it's doing. So as you can see, this really does feel like more than just an update. It feels like a genuine turning point. The whole conversation is changing. It's no longer about what we can tell an AI to do, but about what we can create with an AI partner. And that leaves us with a really big question, one that's less about technology and more about our own imagination. If AI is truly a collaborator now, what will we choose to build together?